The road trip gave me the time I needed to study up on Sir Raleigh the Frog. As a young man, this hot-tempered frog grew bored of his life of luxury and privilege. On a whim, he tried his hand at a bit of piracy and found it to his liking. Raleigh, who quickly became addicted to crime, was brought into the Fiendish Five as chief machinist, where his evil tinkering genius rose to new heights. The last reported sighting of this mad machinist was off the soggy coast of the Isle o' Wrath, a small island uncomfortably situated in the middle of the perilous Welsh Triangle.
So, every episode in this game has a specific structure. I'll explain the other details later, but each episode starts with a level like this, where you basically get driven up to a certain point, and you're basically doing this one level just so you can make your way to the main hub of the episode. So for now, we gotta make progress to get there.
Hey, Sly! I just spotted something that's going to complicate the mission. See that nasty-looking gate? It blocks the only road leading into Raleigh's hideout.
No problem. I'll just use my climb move.
Okay, but remember, you can only climb on certain objects, like pipes and ropes.
Yeah, sure, and like that ladder there?
That is correct, but do not forget, Sly. You have to get close.
Then hit the circle button to grab it. Yeah. Relax, Bentley. I live for this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what worries me.
Anyway, yeah. What you see around here, besides greens, is a specific type of green. These glue bottles.
Now this is very interesting. The message you just found appears to be some sort of clue. I'll decipher it here in the van. In the meantime, see if you can find any more clues. The more I have, the easier it'll be to crack the code.
So yeah, these are very important. Without these, well, you wouldn't be getting 100%, or at least be getting close to. These are important because these will open something, as you'll find out later. And as you can tell, there's 20 of them on these levels. The amount varies between certain levels, and some levels just don't have them entirely. But levels like these, where there's no gimmicks and it's just live running, there's at least a good chance there'll be clue bottles you'll be collecting. Unless it's in the main hubs, which there won't be any for the obvious reasons. Anyway, this basically requires you to explore the levels more, so have fun breaking all these clue bottles. Anyway, as this level shows us, Raleigh does not like people intruding in on his premise. A lot of just signs that are very unfriendly, like no trespassers with a flaming skull. That gets the point across well. And I guess some goon is spying on us. Somebody with pink eye, I guess. If you know anything about the demo stages of this game, I think you would know who that eye would belong to, but I won't explain any further than that. Anyway, as we get further along, there'll be more things we could talk about. As we can see here, there's flashlights, but Bentley will explain a little better than I will.
Hold on, Sly. See those searchlights? One careless step and you'll be subjected to acute combustion.
You done whining? Let's go.
I'm just trying to keep you alive, partner. Fortunately for you, I launched these signal repeaters throughout Raleigh's fortress. Get close to one and I can checkpoint your progress.
Nice.
So yep, this is where the stealth elements finally kick in. This time for real. There's an actual threat to getting caught by the lights. I'm not going to show it off here, but yep, you just smash the alarm systems and they're done. And getting 100 coins gets you a lucky charm. Basically, if I got hit by this enemy here, Sly, instead of dying in one hit, he would be lucky enough not to die instead. That's basically the only explanation I can think of. Because it seems really that Sly cannot take a hit, and he requires really good luck to survive, which I guess says a lot about him. Anyway, these are the signal repeaters, which are basically checkpoints, and I'm just going to be calling that from now on.
According to my amphibio positioning system, that big blimp is where Raleigh is hiding out.
You know, that blimp looks more like a machine than a hideout.
You're right, Sly. That is a storm machine. It's the reason why it never stops raining around here.
That explains all the wrecked ships.
But why would Raleigh want bad weather at his own hideout 24/7?
Beats me. But rain or shine, I'm gonna steal my family's book back. And if Raleigh gets in my way, it's on.
So yep, Raleigh has a storm machine to cause bad weather at his place. Well, I got a dossier on him. Anyway, in the manual, there's profiles of the Fiendish 5 members. Raleigh, or Sir Raleigh, Fiendish 5 Chief Machinist, has his own page. While you may have gotten a glimpse of his background already, I might as well re-explain it from the manual. Which is, by the way, its own little Thievius Raccoonus, which shows that Sly and the gang have just been busy filing other stuff in there. Anyway, I'll wait till after the next codec call.
Nice job so far, Sly. To get over the next gate, you'll need to grab onto this hook using your cane. Just jump and hit the circle button.
Got it. Jump and hit the circle button to grab onto hooks.
And I'll explain another thing. Every time you press the circle button in this game, there's always going to be this sound. If it plays a specific sound, it means the circle button did not work. So, you could tell if somebody's screwing up pressing the circle button if they have this tap sound instead of, actually doing the action. But anyway, Sir Raleigh. His background. Bored with the life of wealth and privilege, Raleigh's criminal mind blossomed when he discovered a love of piracy. The genius for designing evil machinery won this crime addict his membership in the Fiendish 5. Well, yeah, I'm sure you got all that already, but wouldn't help to... doesn't hurt to explain things from the manual. So yeah. Anyway, there's a safe here. Another one. And more coins, of course.
That large vault has got to be somehow related to those clues and bottles you've been collecting. If you can locate all the clues in this area, I should be able to crack the code and get you inside it.
So yeah, this is why you collect the clue bottles, because Sly can't pick the lock on this thing at all. And right here is a treasure key, which I'll ignore for now, because clue bottles are more important. Oh yeah, now you see the point of these clue bottles. Without these you can't open the saves. And those saves contain very valuable stuff. Sometimes anyway.
You found it, Sly! That's the final clue to crack the code! Now find out both and I'll give you the instructions to open it! The clues have led me to believe that the code for this vault is 792. Sly, you found a page from the Thievius Raccoonus. This page teaches old Drake Cooper's fast attack dive move. Press the triangle button to use it.
So yep, we got dive move now. Our first Thievius Raccoonus page, provided you don't ignore every single safe in this first episode here. Anyway, this is what's stopping us from progressing. A lock. One that you can't pick because, well, Sly's feeling lazy. Which is why you collect these, the treasure keys. Every time you collect one, you'll get a fancy animation of Sly collecting it. In these first levels, getting the key does not automatically end the level. So you have to progress past these locked doors or gates or whatever it could be, depending on the chapter, to progress. And this brings us to the hub world. And as we can see here, everything's still modeled out. So you can backtrack if you want.
That blimp looks like the most secured location on this boat. If Raleigh's really as smart as his police files suggest, then that's where I'll find him.
Wonderful idea, but your plan is flawed.
Why?
Because it's impossible to get near him. To access Raleigh's blimp, you would have to sneak through that high voltage power tube. To do that without getting electrocuted, you'd have to destroy that power generator. And to do that, you'd need 2 more of Raleigh's treasure keys, which are heavily guarded.
Interesting. So when are you gonna get to the impossible part?
Fine. But I warned you. I've marked the areas you need to hit with holographic markers. Follow them to your objectives.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. It's your funeral.
Well, that's an attitude these guys have. Don't worry, the relationship gets a little better, despite being childhood friends. Anyway, we're about to have Bentley explain a feature that he probably should have explained earlier, but yeah, oh well. Better now than later.
Wow, you found a lucky charm. That'll protect you when you take any damage.
So, yep. That's about as many Lucky Charms as you can have. First, you get a regular Lucky Charm. Have 2 and you get a golden one. You're extra lucky.
I say, chaps, my heartiest congratulations to you all. The storm machine has sunk its 50th ship last night, and the loot has already been unloaded. Our operation is moving along splendidly, with the possible exception being the gross negligence displayed below decks, and I demand the boilers stay at full pressure at all times. If you lazy, lowbrow, technically incompetent pack of gutter snipes did your jobs right, we'd have some 100 ships by now. But of course, 50 boats is a fine, fine achievement. Carry on, my boys, carry on.
So, that gives us a little more insight on why Raleigh's doing all this. He's seeking ship just to steal the loot from them. Essentially, he's killing people just so he could steal from them after they're dead. Yeah, that gives us a better motivation for stopping him. Anyway, I'll read one last part of his dossier. Last known location: the Isles of Wrath, located in the center of perilous seas known as the Welsh Triangle. This dangerous chunk of ocean suffers relentless storms and is feared by sailors. So yeah, that's a good idea of where Raleigh is.
Better close those furnace doors. Jump and press the square button. That'll slam them shut.
So anyway, he said something about being below deck, so we're inside the ship now.
Eureka! We're in the engine room. My analysis tells me that if you trace the spinning crankshaft all the way back to its source, you'll find Raleigh's treasure key and sabotage his machine while you're at it.
Yeah, these are pretty weird locations to put treasure keys, but whatever makes it harder.
Remember, Sly, hold down the circle button near the blue stealth auras to perform super sneaky thief moves.
Just in case you forgot. Anyway, yeah. We're in this engine room, which is pretty big. But I'd imagine a ship of this size would require it to be as big, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, as you can see here, the clue bottles count has changed. Like I said, it'll vary between levels, so you need basically, yeah, depending on the size of the level will determine how much you'll have to collect. And of course, like I said, gimmicks of some sort may restrict how many clue bottles there'll be in a level. Anyway, this level also introduces one of the more fiendish things that can happen in the game. Glue bottles in this game can be lost permanently, well, not permanently, but for the rest of the level if you screw up. If I didn't knock those bottles down and get the ones that are hanging on the ceiling, I would not have been able to recollect them. This happens a few times in the level, so you can lose out on clue bottles unless you want to restart the level. So yeah, that's one of the things that, probably one of the bad points of the game, is you can actually lose out on the really important collectibles. While their usefulness may vary, you're gonna need them anyway if you want to actually feel accomplished in beating this game. But that's not the only reason why you'll play this game for. So another interesting thing, besides getting an extra life from 100 coins after getting gold lucky charms, well, let's see here. The enemies, an interesting fact about them is that they can hit you, and they'll do a special animation for doing it. You'll see a few of them sometimes, or most of the time, unintentionally. I don't get hit very often in this first level, but it'll happen. You'll probably see it anyway. So certain enemies here, if they hit you, they like to celebrate. This is probably mostly as a mechanic so you can catch up to the enemies and defeat them while they're distracted. So if this enemy burned me, for example, he would be busy celebrating having burned me and go ahead and basically stop in his path, allowing you to get a free hit on him. So it's pretty nice that they do that. Even the bosses, I believe, have that. So basically everything just celebrates hitting you. Even if it's once, even if it doesn't kill you, they'll celebrate. So yeah, we're nearing the 30 clue bottles. These aren't very tough to begin with, but...
Bummer, you can't open this vault without finding the rest of the clues.
But this does introduce one annoying aspect of the game. They like to place the saves in areas before you would get all the clue bottles. So be prepared to backtrack for these things sometimes.
Press the circle to enter the vault code. I can't believe I pieced this one together. Try 227. Interesting. Old Sally Cooper's fast getaway raccoon roll. Stories claim she can move faster rolling than anyone else could on the run. Hold down the triangle button to use this move. Switch between your power-ups using L2 and R2.
So yep, we got an extra move, the roll. The Thievius Raccoonus pages basically give extra abilities now, as you can tell. And of course, there's multiple of them, so you have to switch them out occasionally. The roll here is what it sounds like, it's a roll. But it provides a nice feature basically allowing you to move fast. So you might find some use for these in some of the Master Thief sprints, which are very hard, by the way. They're the hardest part of the game, the time trials. They do not work like your usual time trial mechanics in any game, but more on that later when the proper time comes. Anyway, you grab this thing to smash up the machinery here, and this apparently clogs up things. From what we can tell here, I guess the machine has stopped functioning and it's no longer move. Not that it will mean anything to Raleigh, but that's a thing now. Anyway, you complete a level and then you're back to the main hub. One nice thing about this hub here in this particular episode is that the Sly lives return. They always do every time you come back. And another thing about this is the thief meter, as you can hear here. The thief meter is actually introduced in the second game, but as you can tell here, there's a certain baseline that plays whenever you're sneaking. Yeah. There's no visual indication of it until the next game. That's where the thief meter name comes from, is the indicator. But enough about that.
Sly, see that machine wheel? If my knowledge of mechanical engineering serves me right, applying significant rotational torque to achieve maximum velocity will yield a positive result.
You mean something good might happen if I can get the wheel to spin fast enough?
Isn't that what I just said?
So I don't know what happens if you roll on this thing, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just run on it. You'll achieve your maximum torque well enough anyway. Anyway, this is another level that requires us to go below decks. The fire down below. Yep. And every time you find a new level, they introduce a new piece of the map.
Temperature's reading way off the charts in here. This must be the power source for the storm machine.
So another annoying thing here is,
Dude, this is the vault, but you need more clues.
well, the fact that the vault's already at the beginning of the level. So yep, it doesn't matter if you collect all the clue bottles on this level, you're not getting it on the first try unless you really want to backtrack all the way. But considering getting the treasure key requires you to go back to the beginning, back to the hub world, you can obviously take your poison and just go all the way back here if you want, but don't bother. And as we can see here, we're in a boiler. Things are really heating up for this. Yeah, that was lame, wasn't it? But, eh. Anyway, the most coins you'll ever see in this game is provided by these coals. So, apparently being really naughty, being on the naughty list and getting coal will get you lots of coins, so take it. Also, as you can tell here, Raleigh is not very careful here. This certainly looks like a very unsafe place. No handrails or anything. And there's lava. So, yep. I don't know what to say. There's lava on a boat here. I don't know how this boat's still functioning, but it is. But anyway, here is one annoying clue bottle that requires you to jump. There's probably a way to get it without having to jump off, but I didn't bother. And of course, doing this requires you to go all the way back and do this all over again. Hang precariously over lava, climb up this thing using your climb move. Really, being here for too long should kill Sly, but in this world where raccoons can learn certain powers that you'll see later on, you shouldn't be surprised. Oh, and occasionally the levels will provide you lucky charms of their own. So while you can, you know, get 100 coins, you'll get them right away. Sometimes the game will throw you a bone and provide them in the levels. And if you're struggling, especially, the game might be merciful enough to give them to you upon basically losing a life. Basically like getting an Aku Aku mask in the Crash Bandicoot by losing enough times to a level. While this game is certainly not as hard as the Crash Bandicoot games, they still have that mechanic there in case you're struggling. And of course, 100 coins still gives you a lucky charm. Just a reminder, because I'm running out of things to talk about apparently. But not about this, because we gotta apply this gimmick again. You gotta roll on this thing, or no, sorry, achieve maximum torque to get the conveyor belts moving, so you can get this ball going and smack into the gate there. And only then can you progress to the treasure key and get the last few clue bottles. Avoid the flashlights, which are still easy to avoid, and get your treasure key. That's sort of it for the fire down below. And that's it for part 2. The hub world's not going to be shown here because I need to get that safe back in the next part. Anyway, notyourusualZero signing off.